And I think that that's the other great thing about this shutdown is there's one party that is fighting for you to keep your healthcare costs down. There's one party that's actually trying to protect, families and children. And there's one that just does not give a
I know.
Not giving a to the point where they're not even showing up to work.
I mean, it's wild.
Welcome, everyone, to Twigg and Jenkins, your weekly podcast with two politically codependent besties. I'm your co-host, Brad Jenkins.
I'm Carrie Twigg. I'm so pumped. We're back.
We're back.
Man.
We are officially back in the district. Carrie Twigg has left the cozy confines of Los Angeles, and she's come back to bless the district at a time where we need it the most. You know?
That's right. We've been on hiatus for about 2 months, but luckily nothing happened. So that's cool.
Absolutely nothing has happened in politics or in culture or in news or in media.
Very slow.
Missed nothing these past 2 months. How are you feeling, though? You're back.
I'm back. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so happy to live in DC again. And you know this because I made you walk through every step of it with me. Like, I've really been debating whether or not to come back over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years probably. And then when Kamala didn't win, I was like, there's no way I'm going back. And Marianne Williamson we had on the pod, and she was like, now's exactly the time to come back. And that really kind of stuck with me. And then as he became president, LA had the fires, but then we also had National Guards deployments. We had ICE raids starting in LA as early as January and February, like really intense, like covert ops style ICE raids, just terrorizing people. And so many people who said to me, like, you're moving back to DC now. It's like, that's actually been my reality all year.
Yeah. And
I think we all need to drop into the reality of just what living in America with this administration actually means for all of us. If you live in a city, that is something you're going to have to reconcile. But I wanted to be in a place where, people are responding by, very well-trained attorneys throwing Subway sandwiches at cops.
Let's go.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, that felt more important to me. That felt like where I wanted to be. So
wearing
pink
polos. Wearing pink polos.
I mean,
no
God
less.
bless that man.
He's a national hero.
A living legend, an American treasure.
Yeah. I have a free DC t-shirt. Like the Banksy
swag. Yeah.
The Banksy with him with the hoagie. Yeah. God bless. I mean, look, we talked about this multiple times, but could not be more excited that Carrie Twigg is in the district. I could not imagine this podcast happening with you on the coasts or you on the West Coast, I should say. I think it would be a very different vibe, very different feel. The podcast is kind of made for the moment here. The exciting thing about Twigg and Jenkins is that we will be with you now twice a week. Carrie has built a home studio. She has allowed me to put New York Mets and New York Giants paraphernalia by my big head. Life couldn't be better. And the other part is being here in DC, we're also going to be able to kind of like bring our viewers, our millions of Twigg and Jenkins viewers, into the process of DC. So yesterday, we actually went and saw our homie, U.S. Senator Andy Kim, at the Hart Building during a government shutdown. It was incredible. And we're going to be able to do that a lot more often. Some field segments, actually going into the belly of the beast. Twigg is going to throw some hoagies at some Guards members. We're going to get it on camera. It's going to be great.
Who knows what could happen?
Exactly.
No, I'm really excited. And there is something about being back here. Obviously we got to know each other because we shared an office at the White House where Brad just shouted at the back of my head for a couple years. And he's just so loud.
Very loud.
And being back in DC is like this full circle moment for me in a way that's really beautiful and I think powerful, like on a personal level, even just beyond what's happening in the political discourse of the country.
Yeah.
And I've been out making film and TV in LA and other parts of the country. And there is something that is irreplaceable to me about the kind of discussions that happen here. The fact that we went 10 minutes, we went in a 10-minute Uber and we're at the Hart Building and we're talking to senators. Like, that stuff is really, I think, important and impactful when we're in a moment when culture is shaping our political discourse and like our political outcomes. So I'm so happy to be back. And it's like
Yeah.
so great to like pal around the city with you and be a part of, these really consequential dialogues that are happening all over this town.
It's going to be great. And I also feel like the one great thing that Twigg is bringing DC is some actual fun and some actual culture. Not that DC doesn't have culture, but Twigg, you're bringing a lot,
DC is a great convening town. I got a massive dining room table that came in a crate.
Let's go.
The number of enemies I made on my street as trying to get this dining room table into my house. I mean, this massive truck, this massive crate, they were unscrewing the crate on the street. People are honking like it was 8 a.m. on a work day. Like it was psychotic. But part of that was because I love dinner parties. One of the things I did so much when I was here 10 years ago, when I lived here 10 years ago, was throw dinner parties basically every Sunday for young people in the administration. And just like standing invite, you can come through, have dinner, be a part of, meet other colleagues, meet artists, meet people who I'm interacting with from around the city. And DC is such a great place to convene people. People are so interesting. They're so willing to be, open and hospitable to people. And so I think there's amazing culture in the city. There's amazing artists in the city. There's amazing people doing such cool work. You just have to bring them together and remind them that other people are interested in what they're doing and down to be a part of it. So that'll be happening.
It's going to be great. We need it now more than ever. We've got ICE checkpoints. In fact, there's an ICE checkpoint. There was one right in front of my house. So my kids got an education on what ICE is, why these men are wearing masks, why they're stopping every community member that passes. But they also are witnessing that same moment, my block protesting what was happening, notifying neighbors, notifying members of the community that this is happening. It's not our finest timeline. It's really not.
Bit of an understatement.
I don't want to say it's the worst timeline, but it's pretty damn close. And I think the other piece that's happening right now, and I'm sure we'll get into it each and every week, is we can't turn our eye away from what's happening.
Yeah.
We can't allow any of this to be normalized, but we also can't lose our minds, right? There needs to be both. We need to be able to find humor and joy and laughter, but also impress upon everyone in America that this is not fucking normal. And there's a lot of things that we can all be doing each and every day to make sure this stops, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a moment. And speaking of moments, your homie, Gavin Newsom, Carrie Twigg, this goes back over a year because you called the Gav phenomenon, I think, before it has become nationalized.
Yeah.
But what is the Gav up to these days besides memeing the president every day? He's doing a really good job of meeting him.
Shout out to his team.
Yeah.
For the brilliant work they're doing on the internet. Shout out to him for being so handsome. He's on our buddy Van Lathan's podcast this week.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. And what I've been saying about Gavin that I think is just borne out more and more with each passing day, and you see other people sort of following suit, is that Gavin to me was the first elected to drop into the reality of the moment, right? Yeah. I've been saying this over and over, Democrats continue to operate under a collective delusion that Americans are different than they are, that the politics of this era are different than they are, that people want something that they have repeatedly told us, but at both in polling and at the ballot box, that they do not want. And he was the first person to be like, okay, this is the big show. We're in an entertainment economy. We're in an attention economy. I'm going to do things that get attention. I'm going to abide by the norms as they exist in this moment, not by what I hope they were or think they should be or what they used to be. So I will call you names. So I will make fun of you on the internet. So I will be catty and petty, and I will be braggadocious and all of these things. And it's effective, right? Because people are desperate to not feel gaslit. And I think our Democratic leadership has unintentionally been gaslighting the general population to be like, no, we should just continue in the way things were, and we should continue to operate in a politic that is reminiscent of a decade ago, and it was making us all crazy because it's not working.
Right.
And so you see Wes Moore stepping more into that combative posture, which I think is incredibly important. You see Daddy Pritzker step into that posture.
Daddy Pritzker or Daddy?
Daddy.
He's a daddy.
I think he's like Daddy. He's like Daddy Warbucks.
He's like Daddy Warbucks. True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not Zaddy.
No,
very much like Daddy's gonna come and protect you.
Yeah.
Which is a good archetype for him to step into.
Sure.
You know, it's a familiar character, and for better or for worse, like Americans respond to the characters that are familiar to them. So he's smart to work that archetype. It's what Gavin's doing too. Gavin's playing like hot high school quarterback, bro. But he is.
He is. I mean, the thing that I found so striking is the memification of Trump's memes, right?
Yeah.
Is the thing that I
very
love
meta.
the most. It's very meta. And the other part about it is, weirdly, I can't think of another national figure that can pull it off, right? Like pulling off memeing yourself with Trump, pulling off tweeting like Trump in all caps and in just like chaos energy. Gavin, it just see that's Gavin's aura. That's his vibe.
Yeah.
You know?
Without being cringy, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
without being the Hillary Clinton, I got hot sauce in my bag post of lore of 2016, if anyone can cast their memory back that far.
Yeah.
He's doing such a masterful job of pointing out how absurd it all is, but then inverting it to work for him and to really establish a platform under which he can operate. And the thing is, he can maintain it, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is so important. Like Pete's doing his thing. He's showing up and doing these long form discussions and sort of being charming in his way. But his charm unfolds over a different timeline, you know? Like you get 45 minutes or an hour with Pete, and then you can really see him shine. And he's good in some talking points, you know, like when he pops up on Fox or what have you. But the fact that Gavin's able to really nail the correct like internet, the chronically online tone is really impressive.
It's been impressive. Chronically Online is a good segue. I think we have to talk about the Charlie Kirk of it all. All this happened while we're on hiatus. How do you feel? I feel like we need to unpack. There's a lot to discuss with Charlie. Truth be told, I actually met Charlie Kirk many years ago. I was on Charlie's podcast network, or the network that Charlie Kirk's podcast is on. It's called Podcast One. My homie at Funny or Die, this guy Peter Morris, became the president of Podcast One. And at the time, all of the people on Podcast One were all right-wingers. It was like Adam Carolla, Charlie Kirk. I guess Shaquille O'Neal is not a right-winger, but like, you know.
God forbid
Shaquille O'Neal. And so they just needed a resident progressive human.
So this is where you and Questlove.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I interviewed all my favorite people. Like, so I had this podcast for Podcast One. I had Questlove on, I had T.I. on, I had Randall Park on, I had my friend people. Chloe Bennett on, all my favorite homies. And so the studio, beautiful studio, was like in Beverly Hills, and Charlie was there one day. I met this kid. And so I've known Charlie. Like I followed his career. I followed his career. I followed a lot of the sort of Charlie Kirk's on the right, folks like Steven Crowder, folks like Ben Shapiro. I remember texting you and Rob the image, you know, like when it happened.
Yeah. You've put me on to all these guys over the years, by the way, because I don't check for that part of the internet, but
it was.
You've always been my vessel for tracking what's happening with these guys.
It hit in a way that in the moment was, I think, very scary.
Yeah.
And then I think the aftermath of it has been very instructive for how our politics are broken and how I think the left is still sort of fumbling and figuring out what to make of Charlie Kirk's assassination and what we can learn from it, and also like what we can pinpoint what was good about Charlie Kirk and what was not so good about Charlie Kirk. And so I think you and we've been talking about the Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ezra Klein interview, but I'm curious what your thoughts are, Twig, on, political violence. I'll just say, first and foremost, political violence. This kind of political violence is unacceptable. It's so ugly and so antithetical to everything that we stand for. I mean, like, we're political commentators too. We have a podcast. Charlie Kirk is a podcaster.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a scary moment thinking of it from that perspective, but also you can't sort of wave a magic wand and erase the really ugly rhetoric and the platform that Charlie was pushing each and every single day, particularly for young people. And so anyway, but we'd love for you to unpack your thoughts on all this.
Man, I mean, I generally speaking have a pretty strict no snuff videos policy, born out of, the Trayvon Martin Black Lives Matter post. I probably haven't seen one of those videos for 10 years. I don't need to re-traumatize myself in that kind of way. But I did see the Charlie Kirk video, and it was horrific.
Horrific.
It was absolutely horrific. And the fact that that video will now exist on the internet forever, and that his kids are maybe going to have to watch that one day is really, really brutal to think about. And to your point, you can't, as someone who's obsessed with history, and was a history major, like, you also can't remove that from a chain link of violence in this country. Like, this country is born of violence in a very literal way. And that's really tough. I think that speaking of Ezra and Ta-Nehisi, I think that was one of the more interesting. There's obviously been a lot of takes, a lot of commentary. I watched portions of his memorial service. It's been pretty dramatic the way that this is all unfolded. The hagiography of Charlie has been really disheartening, but also you totally understand from a political perspective why they're doing it.
100%.
I think that it's pretty self-evident that Charlie would have run for president, likely succeeded. He was dominant and like a juggernaut in his ability to reach people, hold their attention, convince them to follow him.
Yeah.
I think the thing with the Ezra Klein and the Ta-Nehisi Coates discussion of it all, first of all, I thought that was Ta-Nehisi like at his best, right?
100%.
I think he is such an extraordinary communicator. And one of the things that I also thought was so beautiful about that discussion was how much he showed up as a friend, more than he showed up as a public intellectual. And so I thought that was great for all of us to see in this context. I was really sort of shocked by that initial article from Ezra Klein, and I couldn't quite make sense of it. And then I think when I watched the Ta-Nehisi Coates and Klein episode, the thing that just kept coming back to me, and I think we've all had friends that have done this to us, but Ezra just seemed to be anxiety dumping.
Yes.
Like, he was so anxious throughout that he completely lost perspective, right? He was so anxious to participate in the mourning of Charlie Kirk that he wrote something that really kind of offered compliments and lauding and support for something that's patently destructive, right?
Agreed.
Which is the manner in which Charlie was conducting politics. And I think there's a distinction to be made between practicing politics the right way and whether or not your judgment is about, are the politics good for the individual or are the politics good for the collective, right? Charlie Kirk was practicing a politics that were good for him personally, up until, obviously he was assassinated. But they're wildly destructive for the broader collective of the country. So, that anxiety that I felt like was radiating off of Ezra throughout that entire discussion was, repeated over and over again as he was saying he needed to participate in the mourning of Charlie Kirk. It's like, I'm not 100% sure why. He was so concerned about how Democrats and progressives win that he was vaunting something that is patently destructive and puts real people in real harm's way.
Yep.
He was so anxious to be correct and sort of to defend the way he was thinking about it that he seemed to repeatedly reject the wisdom being offered to him, the really generous wisdom being offered to him by Ta-Nehisi, his friend, and also someone he said he respects, and then just sort of kept dismissing his opinion. So it was one of those rare things where I think he was so locked into a perspective that I think was driven by anxiety that it was not the Ezra that I think we're used to, which is a very sort of dispassionate, analytical, while emotionally accessible perspective of the world that takes a really broad view. So, I sort of felt for him, and yet also was like, he's doubling and tripling down on this perspective that so many people you respect are sort of like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It felt like a therapy session among friends, because you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, the one beautiful thing is I think that Coates, the Ezra Klein show, which has had different iterations at Vox and New York Times, Ta-Nehisi's been on probably more than any other guest. Like, they are real friends in real life. And I think that you could tell from the very beginning that they also like admitted that they had exchanged texts and communicated that Ta-Nehisi vehemently disagreed with Ezra's piece, and in fact saw an early draft of the piece. And so what struck me as someone who is a fan of both, like when reading Ezra's piece, my initial gut reaction was to defend it. I
remember you texted me. Yeah, speaking of texts between friends.
Exactly. And again, to defend the spirit of it. I'll put it that way. To defend the spirit of it. Because there's no part of me, or no part of anyone who's read Ezra's work going back to like the blogosphere days, right? That could imagine a world that Ezra Klein thinks that the hate and vitriol that Charlie was spewing each and every day was good politics, right? But to your point, how effective Charlie was, and the way that in which he would go to these college campuses and clip this bullshit and spread it and get funding and create this like very loud, youthful, in many ways, like counterweight to this burgeoning Obama generation, right? Like, this is all tactical. Obama won in 2008.
Yeah.
PragerU, all these billionaires saw the writing on the wall, the evangelical right, Christian. I mean, everyone sort of saw the writing on the wall that Barack Obama has an opportunity to lock in this coming generation forever. Forever. And, there's
I think we took that lesson a little too to heart.
For real. And the right, through people like Charlie, people like Crowder, people like Shapiro, they, and I agreed with what Ezra was saying, like they truly went to spaces and went to places and tried to persuade in a variety of different ways. Through misinformation and through hate. I mean, that's the big piece that Coates just kept hitting Ezra on, which is, what's very effective? Hate.
Yeah.
It spreads virally online? Hate and racism and discrimination. And I think that we have to be able to separate the two. I think that we have to be able to say, what happened to Charlie is a tragedy. It's unacceptable. It's the worst of us. But also, this guy's not a martyr. This guy is not the best of us. His politics, what he stood for, does not deserve statues in front of the U.S. Congress, which is what some members of Congress were trying to do. And also at the same time, this is a long legacy. Like, Charlie is not new. Right. This is a long legacy going back to Rush Limbaugh. This is a long legacy going back to, of course, Fox News. This is a long legacy of weaponizing, separating, and dividing.
Yeah. Listen, I think that Charlie and his work can be extraordinarily instructive. I think it already is, right? I think that post 2024, there is already a lot of discussion within the left about everything that went wrong. We've already, we've talked so much about the postmortems of, that might be in bad taste to use, but like the post-election analysis of where the Democrats went wrong and ignoring college campuses, taking for granted certain voters, taking for granted the base, not having meaningful digital persuasion, not leveraging culture, not building cultural ecosystems, not building media ecosystems. Like, so much of that has been the refrain in the chorus of what went wrong for Democrats in 2024. And I think the one thing that Ezra pointed out that's really worth repeating is that 10 years ago, Democrats had so much more leverage in states, right?
Yes.
So even like my time in Ohio, I worked for a Democratic governor in Ohio. We had every statewide office. We had the Senate. Democrats have lost so much ground in states in the middle of the country, both in governorship, statewide elected officials, state and local elected judgeships, state rep, state senate. So that is a worthy perspective, I think. But I think that Ezra has misdiagnosed the cause of that, right?
Yeah.
I think that Democrats have just gotten away from the politics of persuasion writ large because they overlearned the lesson that demography is destiny.
100%.
And that post-Barack Obama, everything's going to be on our side. We're a majority-minority country, and therefore we will never lose an election ever again.
Yeah.
And just couldn't be further from the truth.
We took it for granted. I mean, I think that the big pieces, and you and I have talked about this a lot when it comes to culture, but also when it comes to politics, we just got lazy.
Yeah, totally.
We just assumed that all of these young people believe in the promise of this sort of multi-ethnic, multiracial, multi-religious, beautiful utopia, this equality, right? Like everyone is, rainbows and unicorns because of Barack Obama. Like we just took it all for granted.
Yeah.
And we are now in a place where not only are we seeing it through podcasters like, R.I.P. Charlie and Crowder and Ben Shapiro. By the way, the other thing about Charlie, which people don't quite realize, like he didn't invent the going to college campus debate me stuff.
Yeah.
That was Crowder, who, by the way, is now doing it again.
Is he?
And he just went to an HBCU last week, right? Like, if we think that kind of politics is going away, it's only going to ramp up. And if we think that political violence is going away, is the other piece. And I think that that's the tension in that conversation between Ezra and Ta-Nehisi, of Ezra seeming to believe that, we Democrats, we hold the key to solving political violence, right? Like we hold the key into hugging the other side. And I think that Coates reminds Ezra that political violence is not new.
Yeah.
And if you are a Black person in this country, that's all is political violence. And by hugging folks like Charlie, are you just in a way, absolving the violence of its sins? And so we have to be able to do both, right? We have to hold both of these things together. And this is the reason why Carrie Twigg came back to DC, because we were going to try to do both. I think.
Some of it, I guess.
We are not politically violent.
Well,
sometimes.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on how broad of a definition you want to take. So there's two other big stories that I think we should get to. Have you both the shutdown?
Let's go.
And this is at the 2-year mark of the war in Gaza.
Let's go. Well, yeah, let's talk about the government shutdown.
Which one do you want to take first?
Let's go government shutdown. Carrie and I are not strangers to the government shutdown. We lived through and worked through a government shutdown at the White House.
Probably a little bit. I wasn't at the office.
Through a government shutdown. We're in day 10 of the federal government shutdown. This is the kind of thing where I was trying to think out loud how different the feeling, the politics of the shutdown is this time and the time that we were in the White House. And the biggest difference is we're in a situation where Republicans hold every lever of power.
Yeah.
Every lever of power in government. And they actually don't want the government to shut down. And so they're in this weird space where Democrats actually hold the power. Democrats have found their backbone. Someone actually grew a spine. Thank you, Hakeem Jeffries. Thank you, Chuck Schumer, to stand up to these guys. And yet Republicans are being blamed. Overwhelmingly, they're being blamed because they run the government. Democrats are in a really good place right now. Democrats politically, message-wise, because Trump, because Elon, because all of these people have been talking about shutting the government down, firing federal workers, decimating government agencies and departments. In this moment, Democrats are the ones technically shutting it down, but Republicans are holding all of the blame.
You're off talking points.
I know. I am. I am totally off talking points.
But I don't know how much the Democratic caucus wants you to be like, technically Democrats are to blame.
They don't want me to say it out loud, but look, this is a time where we should say thank you, Democrats, for growing a spine and doing something.
It's true.
You know?
And I think it's really smart to make it about something that's so impactful and immediately impactful. Democrats always have such a tendency to be really heady and to offer really complex explanations for what they're doing and why and hypotheticals and blah, blah, blah. And so for them to just be like, because this month you are going to get a higher healthcare bill if we do not renew these subsidies, I think is really smart and strategic and important. So often I think Democrats overestimate the attention span of your average adult American. And so I think it's really smart to have them do this and on a real tangible issue. People cannot afford this and are already kind of really struggling under the weight of the bills that they're experiencing, and you cut them off from Obamacare and their subsidies, then they're going to have a very, very difficult time immediately.
Agreed.
And I think people are acutely tapped into that because that anxiety is present. And so, as you said, we met with Senator Kim of New Jersey, our favorite U.S. senator, or one of them certainly. And I don't have a Democrat from Ohio, so I guess
I feel like it's just
I have to take on New Jersey.
Andy. Yeah.
And he gave us some really interesting insights into how all of the map is how all the power map of this moment is unfolding, and what folks can do. So we're excited to share that with you.
We're going to share this interview with you guys. It's going to be great. The piece that I loved, in thinking about this moment is the big, beautiful bill and the capitulation by Hakeem and Chuck was so infuriating.
Yeah.
But weirdly, if they are able to do what I think that they are going to do, which is put these Republicans' feet to the fire, and you're right, it's a choice for these Republicans, because now when these subsidies go away, when these ACA subsidies go away, when every American's healthcare bill.
Why did we get away from calling it Obamacare, by the way? Trump puts his name on everything.
Let's call it Obamacare. Let's do it. I love it. When Obamacare subsidies go away, when everyone's healthcare costs go up, they will know why.
Yeah.
It's because of Republicans.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's the other great thing about this shutdown is there's one party that is fighting for you to keep your healthcare costs down. There's one party that's actually trying to protect, families and children. And there's one that just does not give a fuck.
I know.
Not giving a fuck to the point where they're not even showing up to
work. I mean, it's wild. You are out over your skis when Marjorie Taylor Greene has broken ranks with the right and is like, no, we should probably give people access to Obamacare. You've overplayed your hand.
Yes.
You are in the tall grass.
You are, if you think about it if you're just looking at it from a strategic perspective, Republicans are so fucked because one, they've been talking about shutting down the government. They've already been doing it for months and months and months, right? Yeah. So you're going to get blamed for the shutdown.
Yeah.
2, it's really weird for you then also at the same time to say that it's Democrats' fault that it's shutting down, because you've been the ones talking about shutting down the government.
Right.
You're the ones talking about laying off federal workers, right?
Yeah.
And then 3, Democrats are out here holding the line on healthcare, and they know that those price increases are going to hit, and Republicans are going to get blamed. So what do Republicans do? They blame undocumented families for this. Like, that's their go-to card for everything. And it just will not work this time. It won't work, because here's the thing. The idea that the only reason why Democrats are quote unquote shutting down the government is to give healthcare to undocumented people. That doesn't work when everyone's healthcare prices are going up.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. So we're excited to share the sort of bonus ep with Andy. You guys will see that. And yeah, the other thing is, I don't think that this is ending anytime soon. So maybe we'll go back.
Can I ask?
Talk to some other people.
I've never been more susceptible or more open, I should say, to conspiracy theory.
Okay,
than I have been in the last couple months. Like, I've gone deep on some Candace Owens.
Oh,
it's been delicious. It's been delicious. She's serving up primo content at the moment. How much of the shutdown is because Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson is attempting to prevent a discharge vote on the Epstein files? Like, are you following this on that level?
I am following this on that level. I personally think that they are not connected, although the fact that they have not sworn in the new congresswoman from Arizona, Kerala,
which would be the deciding vote.
That she is the deciding vote on the release of the Epstein files for sure. But that has nothing to do with the shutdown. Like, they could.
You don't think it made them more willing and open to shut it down? Because Trump was not trying to negotiate.
Good point.
He pushed it to the last moment.
It's true.
He put out that hilarious sombrero video.
Great video. I have to just admit it's a great video.
The sanctimony from Democrats about how offensive it was like, listen, you might not be an animal, but the rest of us are.
It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. And that was tweeted by the President of the United States. That happened.
Yes. Intellectually, is it a real problem? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But like, for the baser instinct that exists in me and so many other people, did we laugh? I did.
I laughed, but here's the thing though. This is why I think that they're going to lose this battle, right? And I think it's going to take a long time, but I think that they will eventually lose. Is while it was funny and stupid and racist and all the things you'd expect that for it to be from Donald Trump, it wasn't taking the situation seriously at all.
Of course.
And this moment requires, like, this does affect millions of people.
Right.
This affects military officers. This affects military families.
The military is not getting paid.
People are going without pay. I mean, this is not something to like fuck around about. And if you fuck around, you know what happens. And I think that like that is
put up the chart.
Put up the fucking chart. Like, that's what's going to happen here is that, yeah, you can make your little funny videos and like we're in day 10 of the government shutdown. But once you start getting to day 20 of the shutdown, day 30 of the shutdown, people aren't able to like make rent. People aren't able to make mortgage payments. Shit's going to get hairy.
Yeah.
And Trump, like those funny little videos that he was tweeting weeks ago are going to start to look like you don't give a shit about me.
Right. Like, which he does not.
Which he actually does not. But come to the table. Make a deal. I don't want to step on our interview with Andy, but like the big thing that I learned, so apparently I'm going to step on the interview with Andy.
Great.
Is that Mike Johnson and Republicans are not even in the House.
Oh, no. They went home ages ago.
They just
2 weeks ago.
They just pieced out.
And members of Congress get paid through all of this.
Yes.
So members of the military don't, federal workers don't, but members of Congress do.
The Senate is in because the Senate clearly are responsible humans, apparently. But the House is just like, we're out. And a big reason why they're out is because there are members of Congress like MTG who do just want to pass the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, get a clean CR across, get something done to prevent this from all happening. and Mike Johnson can't hold the line. So he's just refusing to be in office. So
needs must, you know, if you got no other way.
It's an absolute disaster. But look, this is a rare moment that I will say out loud. I do think that the Democrats, y'all are doing a good job. You found a spine. Keep at it. You know,
totally.
Maybe this will be a regular occurrence.
How is this playing on Fox News?
How's this playing on Fox News? Well, you know, I think that they're focused in on the political theater of National Guard's members going to Chicago, National Guard going to DC. They're focused in on the sort of Republican talking points. This is all about undocumented people, undocumented healthcare,
people getting healthcare,
and the Stephen Miller neo-Nazism of it all.
Can you imagine?
Is all these things? It's a Venn diagram.
Oh yeah,
right. It all connects.
Oh yeah,
right. But it all ultimately connects to Black and brown and undocumented people being the cause of everything awful in America, right? And the grievance politics is at full-throated, like levels of 10 on Fox News every single day. So that doesn't change.
Can we talk about what's happening in Chicago for a second? And not specifically what's been happening, because as I said at the top, it's like LA, DC, now Chicago. Like this is coming to a city near you, Portland. But I don't usually listen, but I did listen this week to an episode of The Daily. And one of the things that they talked about that I think is so, so important and Democrats have got to be paying attention to is that when they raided this massive, or they raided a big apartment complex in Chicago, they shot a documentary, right?
Yeah.
They like shot it like an action movie.
Yes.
And so they were DHS, Department of Homeland Security, released a video, like a movie trailer type, like an action, like a Mission Impossible style movie trailer that had guys rappelling down from helicopters in full ballistic gear, people climbing up ladders into windows, people with brown skin, shirtless with handcuffs. And why that is so important is because we are, as much as we are in a political battle, that political battle comes underneath a narrative battle.
Yeah.
And this is part of the Democrats refuse to drop into the reality of the moment. We are in a storytelling battle.
Yes.
They are bringing camera crews with them every time they have a confrontation. Then they are turning that around and making entertainment products from it. They are creating entertaining products. That is a much more effective way of pushing your narrative. If you can entertain someone, if you can hold their attention, get them to watch something that seems cool and interesting, and therefore makes the what's the right protagonist seem cool and interesting.
Yeah.
So they are valorizing these ICE agents and building an entire narrative ecosystem around these ICE agents that cast them as the hero.
Yeah.
And
100%.
It is a lot more fun to watch a Mission Impossible style movie trailer than it is to watch the news or watch. I mean, this is the whole thing that undermined the backbone of Fox News is like make it entertaining so that people will watch it and you get a massive audience. And if you have that narrative dominance, if you get more people to believe the story that you are telling, both through the number of people who are seeing it, but also the effectiveness of your storytelling, you are going to win that political outcome.
And they are.
And they are. And Democrats have got to be serious. Like, yes, we all hate ICE. Yeah. No ICE and shit. Like, what do Europe and Chicago have in common? No ICE, you know, and no ICE in restaurants. I love it. I love all the memes.
Yeah.
But we are not doing enough to build a narrative around what is happening and then effectively distributing that narrative. And it's only going to get harder because of things like the Ellisons buying Paramount, because of that things like the Ellisons buying TikTok, because of the fact that we know that Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, Elon Musk, who owns X, Jeff Bezos owning the Washington Post, owning Amazon Prime, like in Prime Video. Like these guys
Bari at CBS.
Bari now taking over CBS under that Paramount ownership umbrella. It's like they are all demonstrating a willingness to be cooperative with Donald Trump and to bend the knee to whatever story Donald Trump is trying to tell. Even Apple a little bit, Disney obviously with the Jimmy Kimmel situation. We're in a really dire scenario around how we even get a message out. Democrats are so ready to debate like what our message should be. Are we communicating with the right people? Like, guess what? It's not going to matter if you have nowhere to actually disseminate that story and distribute that story.
Exactly.
We already know about shadow banning. We already know that they're turning dials on certain content over others, certain people over others. We already know that these platforms are willing to silence or censor TV hosts, whether it's Jon Stewart on Apple, whether it's Jimmy Kimmel on ABC, like Stephen Colbert, right? Like this is going to get very, very difficult if we don't have a means of getting our story out there.
I couldn't agree more. The ICE stuff too, you know, going back to Fox News, it's really important. We don't do it enough. I do it because I'm a glutton for punishment. My parents watch it. So it's almost like I view my parents as like my children. I want to know their media diet because I want to be prepared for whatever bullshit they're throwing at me. But, you know, to Carrie's point, the sort of the filmmaking, the storytelling around these ICE agents, that is one of the highest approvals that Donald Trump has, is what he's doing with ICE.
I know. And but like Democrats are like crazy if they think that that's not true. And we're so convinced because we find it so appalling.
Right.
That people are with us and they're not.
They're not with us because we have not done
We're not telling a compelling alternative story.
Exactly. And in many regards, we talked about this during the campaign where this was the number one issue for Republicans. They put mass deportation signs on placards at their convention. And yet Democrats do not bring up immigration as an issue one time during 4 days of the convention. We just pretended as if this is not an issue. And this is what this gets you.
Yeah.
This is what this gets you. When you pretend, when you close your eyes and say, this is not an issue, fucking, excuse my language, masked agents are in front of my house, like grabbing humans in my community. Like, this is what happens. These are the repercussions. I think that, you know, the good news is I think that there are incredible members of Congress or incredible senators. And there are also incredible voices out there, like Jose Antonio Vargas is doing incredible work. He is undocumented himself. He's also a homie, has been on the Twigg and Jenkins podcast, doing their own version of storytelling. The ACLU is doing incredible storytelling.
We got to get them back on because there's another New Kings.
Another New Kings is coming up. The ACLU is sponsoring. There's incredible work happening. And on the culture piece, I mean, I got to give a shout out to my homie, Zach Bryan. Not sure if you saw this.
Oh, I love a country star.
Who just leaked a song yesterday. Did you see this?
Yeah.
About ICE agents and how this is not his America.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that we need. It can't just come from Washington. It can't just come from political operatives. It has to come from country Western stars who are, you know, I'm sure he's going to lose a lot of fans because of this, but like we need people to have balls in this moment.
But hopefully he'll gain a lot too, right? So it's like, to your point, it's about supporting the people who are willing to be courageous and showing up in this moment and demonstrating that, you know, for every loss there is a gain and that people will support you and people will have your back.
100%. So a little bit about Twigg and Jenkins, for those of you who may not know anything about this podcast. Twigg and Jenkins is a pod where every single week, Carrie and I, two former White House employees, then became best friends. We started this pod because we were losing our minds during the last campaign.
Losing our minds.
When Sleepy Joe, our guy Sleepy Joe.
Don't call him that.
I mean, he was actually really sleepy during that debate.
That debate was one of the most painful moments of my life.
Got pushed out. Kamala stepped in. And we were just losing our minds because I think we both knew we were going to lose. We were trying to find solace and camaraderie in the ups and downs and the peaks and valleys of that campaign. And we knew that we needed to keep it going. But we bring culture, we bring humor, and we also bring a little bit of brutal honesty to the conversation where a lot of political podcasts are not willing to say some shit. Carrie Twigg moved to DC to make every enemy possible. That's the reason why he moved to DC, right?
Obviously.
Twigg? Yeah. And we're going to be here now twice a week. Right, Carrie Twigg?
We're going to be here twice a week. And I think one of the things that actually is really important to say too, that as a continuation of what you were just talking about, it's like, one, we both have political expertise. Two, we both have cultural expertise. So we both left politics and started film and TV work. You were at Funny or Die for a long time before starting your own production company, Enfranchisement. I started Culture House with 2 other women, been making a bunch of TV shows. And so that intersection is stuff we know a lot about. And also, like, we don't make our money from the Democratic Party, which doesn't inherently mean you won't tell the truth about it. But I think we're people who love it. We want it to succeed, but we also want it to be better.
Yeah.
And we've contributed a lot of our time and a lot of our talents. We've taken our talents to the DNC, or at least I've worked at the DNC. I've worked for state parties. We tried to fix all this stuff before it broke. And so anything we offer as a critique, it comes from a real place of love. Like, these are still our friends.
Yes.
These are still people that we have so much respect for and admiration for. But it's also really hard to make right decisions all the time, right?
Agreed.
And the catastrophe that we find ourselves in is the result of a lot of wrong decisions that I'm sure looked right in the moment.
Yeah.
No one's like in meetings, like, you know what I want to do? Make the wrong choice.
Yes.
Make the wrong decision. You make the decisions you make. They've just happened to be a cascading effect of wrong decisions over the course of the last several years. And so we find ourselves in the shitstorm we do.
I also feel, and this is where I feel like participation from the Twigg and Jenkins listeners becomes paramount in season 2 with Twigg and I here. We're going to have a lot more content. We're going to have a lot more opportunity to talk to people. So suggestions on guests, suggestions on, different segments, different issues becomes even more important. I feel like there are a lot of podcasts that just focus on Trump, right? A lot of sort of left-wing podcasts that are just like, here's what he's doing today. Here's what he's doing tomorrow. Here's what he's doing yesterday. And that's very important. We have to keep an eye on what's happening in this White House. And then there are a lot of leftist podcasts that put 100% of their ire on the Democrats. Like, this is what Democrats are doing wrong. Fuck the Democrats. This is what we're doing wrong. And so we have, I think, a healthy dose of both, right? We have to keep an eye on what MAGA, we have to keep an eye on what this shithead Stephen Miller is doing. And we also have to be strategic with the response to. And, there are a lot of things that I think we called months in advance, years in advance, that I wish that our friends, could have acted on faster.
It's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, though, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's our distance from it that actually gives us the ability to do that and that perspective. And I think that's going to be the trick for us, is like to do more content, to be talking about it more, but not lose the perspective, not as recline it and lose all the perspective that distance gives you. Because it's hard not to get in your feelings about stuff when you're really close to it, And I also think one of the things that is missing from this town writ large, from the political operative class writ large, is an understanding of culture.
Yeah.
Like, you're such a sports nut, you're paying so much attention to what's happening on the right. You've always, even back in the White House, you were like the first guy on Reddit. You were the first person talking about YouTube stars. You were preaching that gospel like back in the day. I'm obviously in film and TV and like deep in TV land. And so bringing that to politics, I think, is really important and not something that's being talked about enough. And it's fine. Everyone gets to there's a lid for every pot. People get to talk about what they want. It's your podcast. But I think I'm really excited to talk with you as someone who's both a political expert and whose opinion I respect, but also someone who is such a consumer of culture and layers that into all the political stuff.
We need more mixing of the two as well. I think some of my favorite podcasts, entertainment podcasts, sports podcasts, it's like you can't talk about politics. It's a third rail. And I feel like on the political side, it's like we're only going to talk about politics. We're not going to bring in sports and culture and all this fun stuff. And like you and I, like we don't have a choice. We have our lived experience are the two things.
Yeah.
Like that's just who we are. We sort of embody both culture and politics. And so that's the way we're going to approach all of these conversations. Like, you can't view it from this silo. The thing that I keep reminding all my friends in this town, speaking of your your conversation around platforms is the average age of cable news viewers is like 68 years old. And that's CNN. That's the youngest audience of the major cable networks, right? And so while this town is so fixated on who's on cable news, who's saying what, did we get our organization mentioned? Did we get our senator on the air for the 3-minute soundbite? That is the pinnacle of success in this town. Being on Morning Joe, being on whatever bullshit cable news shows there are. And we don't realize that no one is fucking watching these shows. The only people watching these shows are 70-year-olds. And I love 70-year-olds, but we're missing multiple generations of audiences by focusing on cable news.
Totally.
And what we're going to do here at Twigg and Jenkins is we're going to bring you the shit that you actually want to hear. Like, we're going to bring you the people you actually want to hear from. And to that end, we have an email address. What is that email address?
Twigg and Jenkins podcast at gmail.com, which I recently opened for the first time post hiatus. And I will say there's a lot of unread messages. So I'm going to be working through that. My apologies.
Incredible.
I also have an obscene number of unread texts. But we have a crew now. We have a team. So like, you can actually email and expect a response.
Twigg and Jenkins podcast at gmail.com.
You can also DM us.
DM us, hit us up. DM us your ideas for guests, for issues, for segments, and in fact, questions. But in fact, we have Twigg and Jenkins. We have a new segment.
We're going to try this out,
We're going to try a segment. We're calling it the Play of the Week. What is your Play of the Week,
We're
Carrie
get cool
Twigg?
graphics.
We should have like a cool graphic that pops up.
Like a comic thing.
Play of
you
the
watch
week.
all the sports TV. Mine is, not a great win for us, but I think it's really strategic choice. Jared Kushner partnered with the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund to purchase EA Games in a $52 billion deal. And that means that Jared Kushner is now one of the owners of the largest entertainment companies in the world. And I think we really underestimate. It's like if there's such little awareness about gaming culture in democratic circles or in political circles. And I think we really underestimate the scale and the size of the participants in that culture.
Yeah.
But then also how narrative games have become.
Yeah.
Right. If you haven't played video games since you were since we were kids and it was like Mario Kart or whatever, you're really underestimating, or you're thinking about like single person shooter games or what have you. But the games are building whole world views. They are shaping opinions. They are creating a system of beliefs and a set of values for the people who play these games, who spend so much time in these narrative worlds that are being built. They're so sophisticated and really great entertainment. It's not difficult to imagine a scenario in which more and more games start favoring and elevating narratives that support autocrats, support patriarchy, support traditional gender roles, support all these things that we're fighting against in our politics in this moment, and that have pulled our pop culture into these more traditional sort of regressive spaces. So there's a lot to be paying attention to in the deal flow that's happening in the conservatives media space. I put up a video about it because I'm obsessed. But that is such a smart play. My second one, sorry, I've already broken the format of the segment.
No, you're crushing it.
My second one is that shout out to our former colleague, Ashley Allison, who acquired The Root, which is really exciting.
Yes.
That's really dope and strategic on her part. I'm really excited that she is going to be taking that over. So congrats to her. Like, The Root is an important part of particularly Black-oriented journalism and culture, and so stoked for her.
Huge. My play of the week is, because I don't even understand what this means, is I took it literally and I thought it meant like a play, like a sports play.
Take it. Go run with it.
And so my play of the week is Emari Demercado from the Arizona Cardinals dropping the ball running the ball 65 yards and just dropping the ball on the 1 yard line, which led to one of the worst defeats in, I don't know, a decade of NFL football, which is incredible. And I am thinking of that dropping the ball on the 1 yard line as what Republicans are doing with this government shutdown. This is, Republicans had everything going for them. They have all levers of government. They've got Trump banging on the judiciary. They're locking up people left and right. And this government shutdown may be their dropping the ball on the 1 yard line. Like, this is such a great moment for Democrats leading into the midterms, changing the narrative that they can stand up to this fucker, and also explaining and educating to the American people that they are the ones fighting for them. Right. Yeah. So,
I love that. That's a great one.
Maybe next week it won't be an actual play from a sports game, and I'll think of it, more figuratively. But I felt like, me, I'm just like a literal.
We were out so late watching the Giants game last night. I'm really shocked you didn't.
That I didn't
go with
pick,
something from one of your new rookie hot boys,
Jackson Cam,
from one of your exciting whites,
the interesting whites of the New York Giants. Look, my New York Giants, my New York Mets. We've had a really rough year, but last night was great. Last night was great.
Too sacred to even talk about.
It was a great moment. The Philadelphia Phillies got eliminated. The Philadelphia Eagles got smoked, and there is a sports god, and he does have mercy on New York's sports fans. So that's my play of the week. We are so fired up and excited to be back. We really are. I'm so excited that Carrie is back. Carrie is like 5 minutes away. We're like neighbors.
Oh, it's so cute.
We're going to be able to do this so often.
So cute.
So subscribe to Twigg and Jenkins. We're now going to be everywhere.
Share with a friend.
Now that we have a team, we've been primarily on Spotify and Instagram for no reason.
We have full-time jobs doing other stuff.
We will now be everywhere. We will now be anywhere you can get a podcast, you're going to be able to download. So Apple and other places that I don't know that Beth will push it to. And the other part is we'll also be on other social like YouTube, TikTok. What else is there? Snapchat. Can you post things on Snapchat?
Don't commit us to Snapchat.
I don't know what Snapchat really is. I'm too old.
Yeah. We'll find it. We'll get it together.
But we're excited. We want to thank, speaking of Beth, we want to give a huge thanks to Beth, a huge thanks to Erica, a huge thanks to Elon, a huge thanks to Rob Dyer, the new Twigg and Jenkins team.
That's exactly right. Let me do the full readout.
Yeah, do it. Oh yeah, look at us. Look at us being official. I have this
all written down.
We're so official now, Twigg.
Okay, special thanks to the team behind the scenes. Elizabeth Wyndham, our supervising producer.
Yes.
Erica America Anderson, who is our pod pinch hitter right now and helping me with all things Culture House. My Culture House co-founders, Ray and Nicole, our ringer, Rob Diamond, who is putting
Rob Dyer.
Who's Rob Diamond?
He's a former colleague of ours.
Oh, shout out Rob Diamond. Rob Dyer. I worked with a guy named Rob Diamond, so he's also tall.
He's
and
very
friendly.
Tall and very white, though. So,
I don't see color.
You don't see color. Okay.
Thank you, Rob Dyer. Is it really? Huh. Thanks, Rob Dyer.
Thanks, Rob Dyer.
And Twigg and Jenkins is produced by Culture House and Enfranchisement Productions.
We're so excited. We're so excited for Carrie to be here. And hit us up. Also, new merch coming. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you guys so much. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.